CBS Sports ranked their top 25 players, 25 and under. Jamar Chase, number 1. Jaden Daniels, number 2. And then we don't see another QB until 14 and 15. Brock and CJ Stroud, who were your guys, Brew, both kind of coming off of a bit of a down year. Biggest drop-off from 23 to 24. Dak was number 1. Purdy had a big drop there, 113 to 96. Kirk Cousins' Achilles stopped working. And CJ Stroud went from 101 to 87. So both your guys, are you okay with Purdy being slightly ahead of CJ Stroud?
He's 14, Stroud's 15.
Yes, that's right.
I do like Stroud better than Purdy because he's more talented.
Okay.
But I am fine with this ranking because even Brock obviously first year and a half and then 2 playoffs was great. All right, but forget that. In a down year, and both of them had down years last year, here's the numbers. Purdy was much better, passer rating, yards per game, and you see it all, and CJ, of course, had Nico Collins. So only thing that's close and it's actually even is touchdowns and interceptions. Everything else, Purdy was much better.
So then why are you okay with it?
Because I think CJ's more talented, number 1, and number 2, he has shown as well that in his first year when everything isn't, he doesn't have a great situation around him, he still can have a great year. So I think it evens out. Purdy was better in his first 2 years in a better situation, but last year when he wasn't in a good situation, still played better than the down year for CJ. So it's close, but I'm fine with this.
And listen, I know Peyton Manning get mad if we call it a down year from CJ. Peyton made the point. Peyton was asked a question in Fanatics Fest this week about CJ, bouncing back from a down year. And Peyton's like, he won a playoff game in both of his first 2 years. I won a playoff game for 6 years, so I wouldn't call it a down.
Well, the playoffs saved him. You know what I mean?
Well,
that kind of.
So, and this is where people, and maybe people, I think people incorrectly think I'm being hypocritical on this. I think it's totally fair to feel totally different about regular season performance and quarterback wins and playoff performance. Mm-hmm. But I do think that CJ Stroud's performance and winning that playoff game against the number 1 defense in the NFL made up for a down statistical season. Like I do, I think that is, especially when you consider
it certainly made you feel better.
It made you feel better about it, and when there were, to me, mitigating factors for CJ along the lines of that might have been a bottom 4 offensive line in the NFL by the end of the year, and the fact that he I think went into the year assuming he was going to have this stacked wide receiver room, and by the end of the year, it was just Nico Collins by himself. I do agree with you that I think CJ is more talented than Brock, and I think that this ranking where I don't know if take issue with, but where I'm curious about it is how many people, if they could have either quarterback, would actually rather have Brock. I think most people, like you, I think you're saying it for you, and you're a Brock guy, that if you could have either one, you would take CJ. If I could have either one, I would take CJ. And
It'd be close for me.
There is.
Because Purdy has shown, it might be the type of system you have, whatever, but, he's shown he can obviously win at a high level and fit into the right system and,
And they're in similar systems, by the way, or they have been. Go ahead, KW.
I have nothing to say.
Okay. I have something to say. Listen, I think it's easy to say that CJ Stroud is more talented than Brock Purdy. But you've seen Brock Purdy, whether you want it. Like, this is where rankings are always so difficult. And I've been talking a lot about this recently because this is the time for everyone to release their rankings and whatnot because we got nothing else to talk about. But they're really different things. When you're looking at a quarterback individually or how a quarterback plays with a great team, we've seen Brock Purdy play great, play special, play as a top quarterback in the NFL with a great roster and a great coaching staff. That matters because when you're looking at a team to win a Super Bowl, you're imagining that your team is a great team. the chances of you winning a Super Bowl just because you have an awesome quarterback and a bad defense and not a great run game and an average O-line, like, it's just probably not going to happen. It just doesn't. We think it's existed in the past, and it just really hasn't, especially in the immediate, past of like the last like 15 years. I'm not going to talk about what happened in the 2000s or the 90s or whatever. I mean, it was just, football was so completely different. But other than that, it's like teams are great when they win. They're not just carried by a quarterback. So when you build an awesome roster, we've seen Brock Purdy be great. We've seen him be elite. I'm not saying that he's necessarily an elite quarterback through and through, but he executed that offense as great as you could ever ask him to do. And at the end of the day, that is what you're asking, that is what you're going to hope your quarterback can do. And you'd be better off picking a quarterback who can run that offense to the highest degree rather than have a quarterback who can do more with less. And that's where it just becomes kind of interesting. But here's the thing. In no way am I saying that CJ Stroud can't do what Brock Purdy did if he was with the 49ers. It's just we haven't seen it yet because the Houston Texans have not built that roster around him. And even if you want to compare down years, or even in a down year, Purdy was better than CJ. It's like, well, that's ridiculous. Purdy had Shanahan, a coach who's been in the NFL for a million years at this point. Whereas CJ Stroud had Bobby Slowick, who then got fired. Who had a young guy who had a roster that kept being in and out. You're saying, oh yeah, Nico. He didn't have Nico the whole season. It's like, what are we in? Let's not invent things here. Now, CJ had a significantly better defense than Brock Purdy. It's like, okay. So it's just, I don't know. I mean, they've also been in the NFL relatively the same amount, but Brock Purdy is also older by a couple years. Again, that matters. That matters. Brock Purdy has taken a lot more snaps in his just football career. So that can't be underestimated either. In terms of not why he's better necessarily, but why he would be able to handle some of the adversity a little bit more smoothly right now in this immediate moment in the NFL. Whereas CJ, that was probably his toughest year in football. Obviously because it's in the NFL, but even if we just kind of neutralize everything and just kind of equalize everything from middle school and high school and college, considering all the stuff that he had to deal with, it was probably the most negatives that he had to juggle at once. And again, doing it with a defensive head coach, where you have a coordinator who, really kind of fell from grace kind of quickly, it's a tough spot to be in when you're a second-year starter. Whereas again, Brock Purdy had already been in the NFL for a couple years, had a lot more success, was able to really grow with a great team, with a great coaching staff. So in a down year where he's dealing with his own drama and issues, I would expect Brock Purdy to be able to handle that situation. Now, it doesn't mean that if they're both in awesome situations, that with that experience, that Brock Purdy would be just as good, or better than CJ. So that's why these are kind of different things here. So that's why you gotta, anytime we have these conversations, it's always just like, well, how are we having this conversation? I always talk about this in all my videos. Like, what lens are we looking at this through right now? It is interesting. I think Brock is ahead of CJ in this list, probably because of more of the fact that he's been to the Super Bowl, he's been to an two NFC championship games, and CJ Stroud hasn't, and people really want to jump on CJ Stroud having a bad year last season, and it's just not the way how I see it, honestly. And I do believe CJ Stroud is a better quarterback than Brock Purdy, and I think Brock Purdy is a great quarterback. I really do. But when push comes to shove, I do believe in CJ Stroud, but he still has a longer runway of development that Brock Purdy has. So it's just like, I think it is okay right now in this moment of time, in this snapshot, that Brock Purdy is ahead of CJ Stroud. But I guarantee you, the people that made that list, if you said, who do you think will have a better career? Or if you're drafting a quarterback from the jump right now. You know, you have the Philadelphia Eagles roster, right? They just won the Super Bowl, but take away Jalen Hurts. You know, which quarterback would you want to draft right now? And it would be interesting to hear, because some people would say, well, we've seen Brock Purdy with a great roster. And we saw that he led the team to a Super Bowl. Not a Super Bowl win, but still a Super Bowl. And people will be like, well, what about CJ? So it's like, you know, it's interesting. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about CJ Stroud being behind Brock Purdy in their top 25 players, 25 and under? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.